the Bitcoin Act of 2024 because the most important thing for a lot of people is the
Wow, this is the first time I'm hearing about this. The Bitcoin Act of 2024. I actually just looked her up, and they actually call her the crypto queen. So interested to see what she wants to propose with this Bitcoin Act of
establishing a
2024.
strategic Bitcoin reserve. On the other hand, though, some people say, why would we need such a thing?
Raised, Charles, in your book is the importance of having diversified assets, the importance of having some things that are long-term store of value. And Bitcoin is certainly that. So why Bitcoin would make sense as part of our strategic reserves is that we recognize other long-term stores of value and put them in strategic reserve. We have a gold strategic reserve. We have an oil strategic reserve. I think it is fitting that Bitcoin, now that is really digital gold, be included among our reserve assets. So I'm proposing.
So Bitcoin is being referred to now as official liquid gold. Like you heard, we got physical gold, all right? I think oil was like the liquid gold, but now we shifted over to Bitcoin being the digital liquid gold. So just a new asset class right here. This is huge. This is history. You guys are living through history. We are.
Proposing in the Bitcoin Act that we purchase roughly 200,000 Bitcoin a year just by converting money we already have into Bitcoin and hold them for 20 years. If we did that with, say, 5% of all the Bitcoin that will ever exist, which is roughly 1 million Bitcoin, we could cut our debt in half in 20 years. And in the meantime, we would have an asset that's growing in value.
So good strategy. She's saying that we take the money that we already have, buy about 200,000 Bitcoin every year as the value is kind of going up, and would allow us to kind of shrink our debt over the next 20 years, right? Because the value of, but what we've seen that the Bitcoin has been volatile, right? But the US dollar is definitely being devalued, and everything that's happening with BRICS and those other countries coming together saying they may potentially move away from the US dollar, we could definitely see a sharp decline. So smart strategy to try to hedge against what's going to happen inside of across the world in the next few years.
While our own dollar is decreasing in value, and thereby we could shore up the US dollar as the world's reserve currency. What that does is help us protect ourselves against inflation and protect the US dollar on the world stage. It's very important that we protect Bitcoin and people who hold their Bitcoin in individual wallets. We don't want to see this asset become owned only by governments.
This is extremely important. It's also a very interesting area. You got to be careful. I can see a lot of people being confused about how to do this. And I think another thing that we need to do is make sure that it's easy for people to understand how to move money in and out of their wallet and a better way to secure our keys, right? Because if you're not familiar with it, when you buy any type of cryptocurrency, you put it inside of this digital wallet, right? It's like a device. I don't want to make it too long, but they give you this long key. And by key meaning like a code that you don't necessarily make up is issued. And it could be, I don't even know how many characters, I don't remember, but numbers and letters, and it's super long. You got to write it down. And if you lose that, you can't get access to your assets anymore.
And certainly don't want to see it controlled by governments.
And so that's really important. So what she's saying is that it's important to make sure that the government doesn't get access to your keys, and you actually have access to your own key so you can access your own currency in your wallets.
Its great virtue is as freedom money. It is infinitely divisible. It can be used all over the world. It is something that you can send from one person to another at a very low cost and very quickly. Its ability to help bring people out of poverty or into the innovator class and the wealthier class is very exciting.
And you heard what she said is an opportunity for people to move into a new class, right? Into this innovator class. Now, when you look at the price of Bitcoin right now, you're like, that's completely out of reach. We got to be realistic when we make these type of statements. But there's other currencies, so you don't necessarily have to focus on Bitcoin. You got to pay attention to what's happening in the world. There's even a Dogecoin, right? Really cheap right now, but with Elon Musk being a part of this administration, or at least being aligned, I can see that really going up in value. There's Ethereum. There's so many different cryptocurrencies that you can get involved with right now.
And that's why we want to protect individual property rights in Bitcoin and people's individual wallets.
Right.
There's a phrase, not your keys, not your coin. Your keys are your ability to access your Bitcoin. We want to make sure people have access to their own keys and their own Bitcoin.
Absolutely.
Senator, I had a guest on yesterday saying that there are up to 290 pro-crypto lawmakers now heading to Congress or in Congress. But you've been there. How does it feel to sort of take a stand, which at one point was a very lonely stand, and now all of a sudden the whole world seems to have the same epiphany?
Well, I'm delighted to see people have taken the time to understand more about this asset. I'm delighted to see it become part of the U.S. economy, and I'm thrilled that President Trump identified it as something that we should have the beachhead for in the United States. Because thus far, under the current administration, efforts to regulate it through enforcement actions, through penalties and lawsuits, has driven this industry into the arms of other countries.
People are really confused. I can say over the last 4 years, like you said, this administration has made it very difficult for technology. Anyone that's interested in NFTs, we were really moving forward with NFTs, with the blockchain, with the metaverse, cryptocurrency. And we've seen so many people, CEOs that have been attacked. Artificial intelligence is coming up now, and just so much pushback. Has been so hard. So we've seen people lose a lot of money, but people make money. But then it becomes scary. Like, should I actually get involved in this? Is this something that's actually going to stick around? I think Bitcoin obviously has been around for a while, at least the concept itself. But I think it's about 12 years now, right? 12, 14 years. It's had its ups and downs, but right now we're seeing it thriving. So it's definitely a good time with this administration that's finally going to push this thing forward. So I think we're not going to necessarily see the momentum of Bitcoin slow down. It'll be small dips, just like any type of stock in the stock market, depending on what's going on inside of the economy. But I think this is going to hold strong. Definitely a time to kind of pay attention.
Including the European Union. We want to bring them back and have this industry be strong, robust, innovative, and very, very located in the United States, including Bitcoin mining. These are all things that President Trump raised during his campaign, and he seems to be assembling a very pro-Bitcoin cabinet. His leadership understand the assets, not only just Bitcoin, but other digital assets and the opportunities for blockchain. And it then moves into the whole AI culture as well. So I see these things as being part and parcel of creating a 21st century economy that has its anchor in the United States.
Yeah.
If you can, I'm not saying you can, but if you can, get into Bitcoin now. This thing is going to the moon and beyond. Just 2 weeks ago, we were at 78,000. And then, as soon as the election was over, through the roof.